Welcome to By the Way with Beth and Stacey. I am Beth Cooper.
I am Stacey Earlywine, and we're knocking on July 4th.
Yes. Yeah.
Boom, boom,
One
America.
I know. It's one of my very favorite holidays.
It is. It really,
we
right
all
after
know
Christmas.
is my favorite. 4th of July.
Somehow in this episode, she's going to intertwine the 4th of July and Christmas. I guarantee it. It's totally going to happen.
I can do it in one sentence. Christmas in July.
There you go.
I will be celebrating that later in the month after the 4th is
After
over.
the 4th of July, then we focus on Christmas.
Christmas in July.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, but the 4th is my favorite because we have a party that we attend, and we have friends that come in from out of town and that we only see once or twice a year, and it's nice.
That's
it's
nice.
fun.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's
it's a good
time.
weekend.
Yeah. What do you guys do when you guys all get together? Just eat
we have really good food.
Is that why you're baking 1 million pies?
Yeah, I'm making 14 pies tomorrow.
My God.
Let's see, because this right now this is only July the 2nd that this is being filmed. So if that makes sense why I'm doing it tomorrow. And then we have a shrimp boil, we have pulled pork, we have all these different meals. Our friends are in town for like 3 or 4 days.
Right.
So we have a lot of meals and we swim.
So you actually meet on the 4th? Is everybody coming in?
This year they're coming on the 4th. Mm-hmm.
They are coming on the 4th.
They're coming on the 4th, and then our fireworks night will be on the 6th.
Yeah, you're going to put that off till the... Oh, that's nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that'd be good. So how many is there that usually show up? If you're making 14 pies...
There's usually around 40 to 50 people there.
Mm-hmm. Now,
it's really more of a reunion than a party, because you can't really say, well, this is like a 3-day party. Well, it's kind of a reunion. Everyone comes to town and visit the whole few days.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So is it just like friends from years ago? Or
yeah, we've all been
away?
friends for years. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I didn't realize. Yeah. So how did you become friends? Because you do it at...
Paul and Deb Duquesne's house. They're the hosts, yes.
Yeah.
And we've been friends for years and years, ever since my oldest was a baby. And we had a play group together.
Okay.
And there was a play group of moms and little toddlers, and we all got together with our babies. And that's how Deb and I met.
Is this like the homeschooling type thing, too? Did you guys homeschool together?
There were a few of us that homeschooled, but no, it wasn't anything to do with homeschooling. There were people in the group that didn't homeschool.
I see.
It was just moms that we had a lot in common. So our kids played, and the moms sat around, drank coffee, and visited. Yeah. It was like Thursday morning, like sanity moment where you get to talk to another adult, because we were all stay-at-home moms.
Yeah, that's cool.
And then later, some homeschooled, and later some of them public schools. But yeah.
That's cool. Well, we usually on the 4th of July just have, we just have a big cookout at the house. But the past few years since COVID, they've shot the fireworks off down
south
in the south end of town, in the original fairgrounds.
Yeah.
Yeah, down there in that field. And so, and then people come over. And I always liked that because I didn't have to go anywhere, because I literally could just float around on my pool and watch the fireworks. It was great.
Yeah, you had a perfect location.
I had a perfect location.
Mm-hmm.
Now I don't have a perfect location anymore.
Yeah, they moved it back.
They moved it back. So if you want to know who voted against moving it back to the park, this girl. It was awesome. Mm-hmm. I'm not really sure. There's always, you just hear things. I think people like it back out the park. And it has to do with the carnival and stuff like that. Yeah. That one year, the first year, though, they did it. They blocked off Main Street. I'm sorry, not Main Street, East and West North Avenue. And gosh, it was like it is now, because like the first couple of days of July so far have been cool.
Yeah, it was nice. I remember the year they did that carnival down
and it was beautiful.
Because our friends that come from out of town, from Chicago and Louisville and Kansas City, they were here for our get-together, our reunion, and we all went to that downtown carnival.
Remember how cool it was?
I took the older kids, and it was nice.
Physically cool. And everybody's like, oh my gosh, this is great. I'm like, yeah, it's nice here, but if it was 100 on this hot concrete, you'd be losing your mind.
Yeah.
And so I love utilizing the park. I'm a big Charlie Brown Park gal.
Yeah.
Charlie Brown Park is great. So I don't have a problem going back out there.
Right. Either way.
But I don't think we're having a carnival this year, but I think they're having inflatables, but they're having a zip line. There's a bunch of different stuff going on. So they've kind of tried to, change things up a little bit. So that'll be nice to see how
that'd be great. Kids will love that.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Have you ever done a zip line?
No, I have never done a zip. I'm scared of heights. So I probably, heights and snakes.
Yeah, I did a zip line in Tennessee.
Did you?
Yeah, it was super fun. It was a little scary, but I would do it again.
I wouldn't. My problem wouldn't be. Starting would be stopping and like hitting the platform, or putting your feet up. Was somebody catch you? Like at the end?
There was someone on every platform that I was at, but it was kind of a beginner's course.
And then don't you have to kind of go uphill again to get to the platform?
Gravity slows you because you're on like
well, that's
a ramp.
what I'm afraid. This gravity is going to go zoop.
No, you just kind of put your feet down and like start walking, and you slow yourself down. Your body weight will pull you back.
But then don't you have to like your feet up in the air to get to the platform? Or do you just go zoom?
You just kind of let your feet down to dangle, and they hit.
See,
the
I
platform.
guess I've got like a thing like the platform's here, and then the zip line goes like this, and then you're go back up.
No, they have.
That's not how
at least
that works.
where I was, it wasn't like that.
They usually just go straight down, though.
Yeah.
No, but I got a funny story. When we were on a cruise in Jamaica, and you could do excursions and stuff, my little group was like, we went tubing down this river, in Jamaica, which was really cool. And then, but some of them were going to go ziplining. My mother, my Aunt Barb, and Buffy, and I can't remember, Natalie may have been, my other cousin Natalie may have been with him. And Buffy's like, let's go ziplining. Of course, my Aunt Barb's like, yeah, let's go ziplining. Mom's like, I want to go ziplining. I'm like, Mom, do you know what ziplining is? Well, she was like, well, yes. So I'm thinking, okay, so that's weird that Mom knows ziplining. She's like 70, I'm like, okay, whatever. And so then, so we're all like kind of get let off, and the zip line's here, and then you're getting on your tube here. And my mom's in there, and she comes out, and she's got, my mom is a little bitty tiny thing. She has her little helmet on, and her harness on, and all this stuff. I said, Mom, did you know what zip lining was? And she said, well, I thought I did. I said, well, what did you think zip lining was? She said, well, I thought it was like that ride at Disney World where you get in that little tram thing.
And you go through the air.
And you go through the air
in like a covered
vehicle.
Vessel. Yeah. So did she do it?
Oh, yeah, she did it. My Aunt Barb, her little sister, was like, oh, good Lord, Dallas, you'll be fine. And I'm like, oh, my gosh. I'm like, well, Mom, so some of the zip line would go down like where we were floating. And then there she was, just a zip line down. But it was Jamaica, and they didn't tell them about, but they got eaten alive by bugs.
Oh.
And it was awful.
But you didn't in the river?
No. No, not one mosquito bite, not one bite in that river.
Huh, that's weird. I would have thought you both would have, like water usually attracts bugs.
Nope, that river was crystal clear. You could see all the way down to the bottom.
Oh, neat.
Yeah, and there was Mom ziplining. It was the funniest thing you've ever seen in your life.
Oh, that's great.
I had an experience on the river. I'll tell this story real quick. So we had this guy, and his name was Shrek.
Okay.
Just like Shrek.
And,
so like he's ahead, and we got all our little tubes, and of course you get on your tube, and it's nice and shallow. You get on your tube, you just go. Well, we come to this one part, and he's like, now it's really deep here, so if you want to do some swimming, get off your tube. It's deeper than normal. It's not really deep. Like I could stand, like my pool, 5 foot maybe. And I'm like, problem is, there's nowhere for me to get back on this tube. I said, if I get off this tube, I'm never getting back. Oh, I promise, lady, I'll get you back on that tube. I said, I don't know, Shrek, man. I don't know. I'm telling you that because, here's the water.
It's hard.
Here's the tube.
It's hard to enter a tube when you're already in the water, unless you have a ton of muscles.
Yeah, and guess what? I don't have muscles. Not anymore. And this was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
This was probably 10, 11 years ago. And still nothing changed. And so anyway, I promised. So and it was hot. So I'm like, okay. My cousin Nancy, she was smart. She stayed on her table. I'm like, okay. He says he can get off. So long story short, so I get off. We're swimming. It's great. It's time to get back on the tube. Now it's like eeky. And so he's like, come here. So he goes and he says, put your foot in my hand, and I'll put you up on that tube.
Oh.
And I'm like, okay. And so he's got his hand down the water, and I put my foot up in the tube, and when he starts, his hand, my foot slips, and his hand hits me in my lady parts. And so that happened. Of course, me, I start dying laughing.
Oh,
of course,
gosh.
and he was
mortified.
he was mortified and embarrassed. And I said, Shrek, honey, I said, you didn't have to get me off my tube. You could have just told me that you were attracted to me. And he just started, if you've never seen a Jamaican blush, it was hysterical. He was like, oh, no, Leah. I'm like, I am kidding, But this time, he wasn't going to take a chance, and I put my foot there, and he launched me in that tube. So I literally, here's my tube, and I literally go, tube, and I land belly
down.
first. So then I'm like,
had to flip yourself over. I tell you, those tubes, they do not bring out the graceful side in us, do they?
Well, I'm grace in motion anyway. You know how graceful I am.
Oh, yeah.
But I mean, it was just to that poor boy.
Yeah.
That poor boy. But he wasn't taking another chance. But I did. It was like,
oh my gosh.
I went, Shrek. Oh, he was, of course, everybody was dying laughing. And they're like, oh, she's messing with you. Because he was just so mortified over it.
Oh gosh.
But, yeah.
That's hilarious.
It was funny. Yeah, I've got stories from just about everywhere I go. Something ignorant like that always happens to me. I don't know.
Okay, do we have an ad for today?
We do have an ad. Which one are you going to pull up, mister? Okay,
the
look at
yogurt.
this. Okay, so I picked out some ads from the 80s.
Okay.
But look at her soup. I want to live this life again. I want those socks back.
Yeah, those slouch socks.
I never wear socks anymore. But Dannon, who else could make a yogurt with so much flavor and so little sugar? Dannon vanilla, coffee, and lemon. So did you know that they made coffee yogurt?
No.
Me neither.
I don't know if that's still a thing.
It surely isn't. Because this was an ad from like 1982, but I really put it together because, of course she's eating. I mean, look how athletic she is.
Yeah, of course she is.
Yeah, but you know what here's the other thing. I was like looking at her. She doesn't have mall bangs. What would have made this ad better is if her bangs would have been touching the who else could.
Well, this is 82. Those bangs.
They didn't come till late. Yeah,
those bangs were more like 88,
See, what
89.
people don't understand. See, I graduated in 85. We didn't have big hair in 85.
Yeah,
we had mullets.
Yeah.
Even I had a mullet that was like cut up over my ears, perfectly tucked under, feathered size. That big 80s hair didn't come till like 88, 89.
Exactly. And then it didn't go away until about 93, 94.
That was a big 90s
little bit,
thing.
95. So people associate that with the 80s. It's really not.
Yeah.
This is 80s.
Yeah, but that one says 20 cents off. I'm expecting if that was 20 cents off, you probably only paid 10, 15 cents for that cup of yogurt. But I liked it because of her ad. I liked it because of her socks, and she's on a track, so she must have just got done. But I'm like, coffee yogurt?
Yeah.
Who ever?
I don't know. She's eating, I think, vanilla.
Yeah, she's got to be eating the vanilla.
So speaking of vanilla yogurt,
you can go back to us now, Ty.
There is a new yogurt out there that I want. I actually bought a couple. I bought some for myself, and it was so good. I bought you one, and I bought Jim one.
Okay, because we eat yogurt.
But then I ate it, so I don't still have it. But I will tell you where to buy it.
Okay. You would think a good friend would just go out and replace that gift.
I might. I might, but
she's like, okay, what is it?
It's Greek yogurt and it's a vanilla flavor and it's called keto something. I don't even know the brand. I'll have to look it up. But it is really low in sugar, which I've cut back on sugar.
I'm out of sugar
and you
right
said
now.
that you and Jim were kind of cutting back on sugar, but the texture and the flavor is so close to his homemade ice cream, his homemade vanilla ice cream.
Because Greek yogurt, sometimes I'm like,
I know. This is amazing. It tastes like vanilla ice cream. So at night,
do you freeze yours then?
No, but I could. But no, I just eat it cold out of the refrigerator. But it is like soft serve vanilla ice cream. It is so good, and it took me by surprise. I tried it in other flavors. The coconut was pretty good, but the vanilla is not a flavor I would have immediately chosen on my own. I read about it online about how good it was, and now that I've said it on air, our Flora Walmart will probably be sold out all the time.
Well, I bet you're going to have to give me that.
Yeah,
or send me a picture. I'm going to Walmart
I'll send
today.
you a picture. It is really, really good.
I like to eat it because it helps with heartburn and stuff. But I'll tell you what, when you get off sugar, it's amazing. My joints don't hurt hardly at all.
I know.
You know that Achilles heel that I have to?
Yeah.
Sugar is a demon. Most addictive thing in the world, I think, is sugar. I'm going to put it over coffee, caffeine, cocaine, gambling, heroin. I don't care what anybody says.
I agree.
Sugar is a hidden demon, and it is my crack cocaine, man.
It is my crack cocaine,
I love
too.
it.
I have to say I'm 3 weeks clean, 3 or 4 weeks clean.
How long am I clean?
Right after the wedding, I quit because by the wedding, I was so stressed out I couldn't quit before the wedding because I had a lot to think about. But after the wedding, I'm like, okay, time to get serious because I quit sugar years ago. I I lost a ton of weight.
You did, yeah.
And this time, I don't really care if I lose a ton of weight. I really just wanted to feel better.
Yeah, and sugar makes you feel bad.
Oh, my gosh, 2 weeks off of sugar, and I feel like a new woman.
Yeah, well, I got back from, we quit sugar when we, like, the 17th. We came back, so I've been off since the 17th.
Uh-huh.
So I'm going on, 2 weeks maybe? Mm-hmm. 2 weeks off, and it's amazing.
Yeah.
It's absolutely amazing. But I can't go near it.
Yeah, I know. So as I mentioned earlier, I'm
How
making 14
pies. How are you going to make all these 14 pies?
I'll have to probably allow myself just one piece over the weekend.
Yeah.
But
and then in moderation. But the problem with sugarholics like we are, there is no such thing as one.
Yeah, you have a little bite,
just do one little
and then you're hooked again.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm telling you.
It's going to be difficult, but hopefully my friends will all eat the pie so quickly that there won't be any left for me.
Well, don't bring it to my house because Jim and I aren't eating it.
I won't.
But anyway, we're going to come back after this commercial break. We'll be right back.
At your locally owned Napa Auto Parts stores in Flora and Louisville, you can count on experts to have the solutions to keep you running on the road or in the field. More than just your car, the Napa Auto Parts stores in Flora and Louisville carry a large inventory of Napa products for farms, heavy trucks, and just about everything that moves. Experienced associates understand your needs and are ready to help with the perfect part at a great value. That's Napa Know-How at your locally owned Napa Auto Parts stores in Flora and Louisville. Briscoe Surplus Sales on the northeast edge of Flora is your one-stop do-it-all shop. Looking for rugged boots and footwear from great brands like Lacrosse, Rocky, and Carolina? They're there. How about top-notch small engine parts and service? Briscoe Surplus Sales has it. Whether you're wiring your switches or switching your wiring, Briscoe Surplus Sales has the solution and the know-how to help you get the job done right the first time. Briscoe Surplus Sales, your one-stop do-it-all shop.
We like technology at Flora Savings Bank. Here's what you can accomplish in our mobile banking app in less than 30 seconds. See account balances in your transactions, set up an account alert, make a transfer between accounts, get an alert text message about your transfer, pay a bill, turn your debit card off and then back on. It all happens in the palm of your hand with our free My Bank to Go app. Search My Bank to Go in the App Store or Google Play and give mobile banking a try. Flora Savings Bank, member FDIC, and equal housing lender.
Welcome back to By the Way with Beth and Stacey. I was just talking about that yogurt, so I quickly had Ty find a picture of it. We're going to show you all what this picture looks like. This is at Flora Walmart, so if it's at Flora Walmart, it's probably at any Walmart. But this is it. It's by ratio, keto-friendly. It's vanilla yogurt. It's got 15 grams of fat, only 2 grams of carbs.
1 gram of sugar. That's what I like.
1 gram of sugar. It is delicious. It tastes like vanilla soft serve. So if you crave ice cream a lot, this is your ticket.
Jim made Jim, my husband, makes the best vanilla ice cream you'll ever eat, and he made one. He tried making it with Splenda instead. It was hard as this table.
Oh.
It was awful, and so then you let it sit out a little bit, and then it just was like ice milk. It was awful.
Yeah.
So it was terrible. We threw it away, and then at the same time he bought like some Hershey sugar-free chocolate syrup. Worst thing I've ever had in my mouth. Most nasty thing.
You have to watch that stuff that says sugar-free though, because some of it has bad sweeteners in it.
It's got bad.
Some of it's okay with decent. This has, I believe, stevia in it, which is an okay one.
It was awful. It was awful.
Yeah, not good.
It was awful. But anyway, so we're knocking on July 4th.
We are. We got some patriotic stuff to talk about.
We do. Well, you know what? If you mind if I go first? You want me to go first? Well, because on July 4th we have this the All-American Girl and Boy Contest, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, I came across a hometown journal, but this was June 29, 2004. So I only have the winners up until 2014. But anyway, I thought it might be kind of fun to talk about, that like at this time it was like 5 decades, so 50. So
50 years of winners.
50 years. So yes, it started in 1948. So Beth, do math.
Wow.
52, 62, 72, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is the 76th year of the. Is that right? Yeah, 52, 62, 72, 3, 4, 35, 76. Yeah, 76 years of All-American Girl and Boy winners.
Wow.
Yeah, so I thought it was crazy. So I thought, let's just go through some of these old ones. I'll probably just take it up to maybe 80 or something. Just read, read.
Okay, yeah. But these are past. So for those of you that aren't from here and don't know what we're talking about, every year for apparently 76 years, Flora has hosted a competition sort of with children on the 4th of July, and it's called the All-American Boy and Girl Contest. When I was young, they called it the Baby Contest.
Yeah.
They've dropped that, and they call it All-American Girl and Boy now. A lot of the boys and girls wear red, white, and blue, but every child shows up in a swimsuit.
Yes, and it's so cute.
It is super cute.
They
it sounds
are
a little
cute.
outdated and a little silly, but if you're from the city, maybe you might think this is a little hokey.
It's
But
awesome.
it's super fun. And then they pick a top 10 boy, top 10 girl, and then they narrow it down, and there's a winner and a first and second prize as well. But it's not so much. I mean, I think it really boils down to they have to walk up to a panel of judges and they ask them questions, like maybe like,
It's
what's your name?
personality.
And it all comes down to personality.
It does come
so
down
if
to
your kid
personality.
walks up there and chats those judges up, they have a really good chance of winning.
Yeah.
But those that are really shy that are just going to nod their head.
If your kid don't talk, they're not. I've emceed it before. Actually, I'm emceeing it again this year, but I have emceed it a few times. It actually started with Regina Buckley. Started it in 1948, and she did it for several years. Then Jan Phillips took it over, and Jan Phillips did it for over 50 years, I think.
Wow.
And then after Jan passed it on to Lisa Ehrbacher, and Lisa Ehrbacher has been running it through Country Financial now. And it's a lot of fun. It's fun to watch them. I love emceeing it because I get to, I get to hear what some of them kids say, and it's a lot of fun. I got to tell a story. Jim, did you ever put your kids in it?
Yes.
You put all three of yours in it?
I don't know that Silas ever did it. I don't think he wanted to, and I don't think he would have talked. So I don't think I put him in it. The girls both did it. Malia got first runner-up. Carissa got top 10, but I don't think she got a first. I think she was just top 10. Okay. Malia for sure got first runner-up.
Well, we put Jim would ever. He's anti-baby contest. But now he runs sound for it because I make him do it. But anyway, he's always anti-baby, so he would never let me put Mac in it. Mac, my son Mac was he's a good-looking young man, but he was a dark complected, blonde hair, ginormous black, dark brown eyes, cute as a bug. Mac was, and everybody would be like, "You should put Mac in it. You should put Mac in it." So I can't. Jim's anti-baby contest. My Connor comes along. Connor is blonde, not dark complected, white, real light skinned, but brown eyes, and it's cute as a button. And so Jim just so happened to be out of work the week of 4th of July. He was out of the country. I think he was out of the country. I'm not sure if he was out of the country or if he was just out of town, but basically Jim was nowhere to be found. So I put Connor in the All-American Girl and Boy Contest just to see. I can't remember. It was hot. There were like 70 million kids.
Oh, yeah.
And Connor's number, I'll never forget, it was B35. This is the greatest story. There were some other little kids in there, too. Beth Camp's little boy Trey was in there, and then some other kids that I knew. And anyway, so I'm out there walking, and then the little Connor goes by, and I wish I would have brought these pictures. I should have remembered to find these pictures. But anyway, so he's going across, and man, he's just talking and talking. And of course, Connor was the gun show. Connor's always showing his muscles, and he's flexing, and they're dying laughing. And I'm like, he's totally gonna. Yeah, because the other kids were like, oh, cute. But with Connor, they were like, and they had to like get the hook and pull Connor off stage. He was waving, he was gunning, and I'm like, this kid's totally gonna win this thing because he, besides being adorable,
he's got a lot of personality.
He's got a lot of personality. So they bring Connor off the stage. So then, and I'm like thinking to myself, I'm like, okay, this is awesome. I'm like thinking, but oh man, he did really good. I'm like, well, we'll see what happens. So they called him in order. So they called B, blah, 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 the next day. And he was B35. Then they called like B40. And I'm like thinking, oh, they didn't pick him. I'm like, that's okay. The very last number they called for the top 10 was B35. I'm like, oh my gosh, Connor, you got the top 10. I'm like, holy crap, he's in the top 10. Jim's going to find out now. I'm a dead woman. I put Jim's kid in a baby contest. So this is where the story gets interesting. So they're up there, they're doing the top 10, they get balloons, they get DQ, they get trophies, it's all great. Well, at that time, Trey Rhodes, Beth Camp's little boy, I used to babysit for him while she was going to nursing school. So Connor and Trey were really good friends. Well, another little boy out of the top 10, when sitting next to Trey, took Trey's balloon. Took it from him. Nobody saw him take that balloon from him. And Trey was like, my balloon, my balloon, my balloon. Well, you know what my Connor does? I'm going to get that balloon back. So all they see is Connor putting his trophy down, walking over there, poking that little boy, grabbing that balloon back. And it was like, don't take my best friend's balloon. And I'm off the stage going, Connor, no, Connor, no, Connor.
He was taking care of business. No
business.
bullying on his watch.
No bullying. Oh, Connor hates bullies. He hated him since he was little.
But the judges didn't see what provoked him.
But they didn't see what happened. So here's the funniest thing. So I'm like, oh my gosh. And so then like Jan Phillips.
Did he get kicked out of the baby contest?
He's the only kid that's ever been expelled for the baby contest. So the next thing you know, Jan Phillips going, could the mothers of B35, the parents of B35, please come to the stage? Please come to the stage. And I'm like, so I come up walking out there, and I'm like, man, she said, and Jan Phillips, I love Jan Phillips. I've known her forever. And she said, criminy, I should have known he was your kid. Off the mic, she said it. She was like, he gets to keep his tops. I said, she said, he gets to keep, he's already had his picture taken and stuff, but yeah, could you take him off? And I said, yeah. I said, and I was like, I hate to do this, but like he was kind of taken, and so then they were like, so then Jan didn't remove the other little boy, but she did go to the judge and was like, by the way, this one right here started a fight after because all they saw was that. So Connor, the only kid in 76 years that's been removed from the stage from the top 10.
I think that's a pretty cool title, actually. Like, he should wear that with pride.
I tell people that story all the time because it's hysterical.
Yeah.
But anyway, so he, yeah, my son's the only person that's ever been disqualified from but we wear that proudly because Connor to this day can't stand a bully. But and Jan told me afterwards, she said he'd have had it. She said they loved him. He had it. And even when she said, oh, well, B35 has left the stage, they were like, oh, really? And they're like, yeah. Yeah, so
that's too bad.
It was, but he's adorable. Anyway, let's go.
Okay.
Let's go right here. So we're going to go. I'm going to read some I'll probably get through. We're going to take I'll read through some, then I'll come back on the next episode and finish up some, and then we'll
next segment.
And then we'll do. We're going to talk about Betsy Ross today too.
We are, yeah.
Okay. So in 1948, the All-American boy was James Roy Carter, son of Mr. and Mrs. James Carter, and Donna K. Harris, and then the little girl was Donna K. Harrison, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Don Harrison. I'm going to have to read these because I wasn't expecting to go right into the other one. 1949, Gary Robert Moore, son of Mr. and Mrs. Robert Moore. Cliffy Lynn Gibson. How fun is that name?
It's a little girl name?
Yeah, and then the little girl was Cliffy Lynn Gibson.
I bet her dad's Clifford.
Probably. Daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Ernie Gibson.
Oh, okay. Cliffy.
Cliffy. I'm anxious to see how, when I start reading these, how far it goes before we start having lots of different parents. I don't know. I would just.
Yeah.
1950. Larry Kidwell, son of Mr. and Mrs. Leon Kidwell, and the little girl was Diane Gawley, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. M.R. Gawley. Some of these names I haven't ever heard of. You? 1951. Michael Hamilton, son of Mr. and Mrs. Eldon Hamilton, and the little girl winner was Marcia Cosby, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Prentice Cosby. 1952, Gary Bruce Glassford, son of Mr. and Mrs. Pete Glassford, and the little girl was Janet Elizabeth Masters, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Lynn Masters. I think that was Lisa's sister, Lisa Ehrbacher's sister, I believe. 1953, Curtis William Venable, son of Mr. and Mrs. Albert Venable, and the little girl winner was Kathy Reynolds, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Earl Reynolds. 1954, Michael Wayne McElroy, son of Mr. and Mrs. Jean McElroy. The little girl winner was Cheryl Jean Mosley, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Hubert Mosley. 1955, the boy was Johnny Mike Phillips, son of Mrs. Ermine Phillips, and the little girl was Sherlyn Sue Etchison, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Bill Etchison. 1956, Todd Kennedy, son of Mr. and Mrs. Donald Kennedy, and Wendy Sue Phillips, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Dale Phillips. In 1957, Mark Stephen McCarty, son of Mr. and Mrs. Dale McCarty, and Janelyn Shell, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Dwight Shell. 1958, Greg Allen Hamilton, son of Mr. and Mrs. Earl Hamilton, And then the little girl winner was Deborah Greenwood, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Raynard Greenwood. Raynard, that's a neat name. You don't hear that married.
I remember them. What was the girl's name?
Am I in 1958?
You were at Raynard. Who's the daughter?
Raynard.
What's the daughter's name?
Deborah.
Yeah, that's Debbie Kinsler. That do you know them from Louisville? She's from Louisville. I used to deliver Meals on Wheels to Raynard and his wife before they passed away. They lived down on Austin Avenue. Yeah, sweet people.
We're going to take a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back, and we'll go through some more of these names, and we'll talk a little bit about Betsy Ross.
Okay.
If you're looking for a loan for your brand new home, call Clay County State Bank. If you want to transfer money so your future will look sunny, call Clay County State Bank.
We got checking and savings and bill pay too.
An online bank, just ask our crew. For all your banking needs, we think you will agree. Clay County State Bank is the place you need to be. Clay County State Bank.
At Clay City Banking Company, we're all on the same team, regardless of zip code. At home, work, school, or across the country, you can be part of our team with our cutting-edge mobile banking products. From your hand, you can check balances, transfer money, make deposits, and pay bills. Looking for a loan? We've got you covered with our mortgage, agriculture, commercial, and consumer loans. Join our team today. Clay City, Flora, Louisville, and Fairfield Banking Companies. We're the hometown banks, member FDIC, and equal housing lender.
Tomorrow. Some fear the uncertainty it brings. Some trust the promise it holds. At Grinnell Mutual, we are always looking forward to tomorrow, growing and innovating. So even if the plans you have for the future aren't the same as the plans that the future holds for you, you can be ready. Because we'll be ready, like we have been for over 100 years. Trust in that. Trust in tomorrow. Talk to your mutual agent today.
Your local agent is on the square. Louisville, Clay County Farmers Mutual Insurance.
Welcome back to By the Way with Beth and Stacey. I am Beth Cooper.
I'm Stacey Earlywine, and we are going over some of the decades of the All-American Girl and Boy Contest. And it's just kind of fun to read back from the beginning of time. You know, it started in 1948, and we'll keep reading from there. So we're in 59 right now, 1959. The boy winner was Terry Lee Wilt, son of Mr. and Mrs. Vic Wilt, and the little girl was Gina Zanitas, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Alex Zanitas. 1960, Melvin Neely Jr., son of Mr. and Mrs. Bud Neely. And the girl winner was Diana Marie Baker, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Ben Baker. Oh, gosh, I didn't realize Lance Spitzner won it. 1961, Lance Spitzner, son of Mr. and Mrs. Leo Spitzner. And the girl was Diana Sue and Debbie Lou Myers, daughters of Mr. and Mrs.
Oh, the twins.
The twins.
The year the twins won.
So that's interesting because I've seen, like, we've had twins up there before, and one twin made it in the top 10 and the other one didn't. Because, once again, they look just alike personality.
Personalities are different. But, yeah, that's great that they chose both of them.
Yeah, that's kind of neat.
That's pretty cool title.
1962, Richard, but they wouldn't have had two trophies for him.
Maybe back then they didn't have trophies. Maybe they just got something special.
Yeah, because like right now they get trophies bigger than them.
Yeah, maybe they had to share the trophy. They probably shared a room.
Yeah. My trophy. No, my trophy. 1962, Richard Murray, son of Dr. and Mrs. J.R. Murray, and Diana Johns, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Richard Johns. 1963, Scott Douglas Stanford, son of Mr. and Mrs. Charles Stanford III. Oh, good night. Norma's kid won. I didn't realize Norma Stanford's little kid won All-American Boy. And Deborah Ann Maddox. Oh, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Frank Maddox. Yeah, I know. So now we're getting into people that I know here.
Okay.
1964, Kevin Eugene Curtis, son of Mr. and Mrs. Clovis Curtis. Ugh, that's a hard name to say. And then Stacy Dean Henson, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Galen Henson. Stacy. Usually Stacy's are spelled Staceycie. This little girl's name is Stassi for Stacy. That's an interesting.
It looks like Stassi.
Stassi. It does. 1965, Kevin Douglas Glassford, son of Mr. and Mrs. Fred Glassford, and Kayla Jean Knoll. I know Kayla, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Gerald Knoll. 66, Thomas Matlock, son of Mr. and Mrs. Matlock, son of Mr. and Mrs. Thomas Matlock. Teresa Tim, daughter of Dr. and Mrs. Tim. 1967, the year I was born. David Sulzberger, son of Mr. and Mrs. Jim Sulzberger, and Deborah Lee Leathers, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Ted Leathers. Yeah, you know Debbie.
Yep.
Yep. 68, Rodney W. Stanfield, son of Mr. and Mrs. Robert Stanfield, and the little girl was Carla June Seahigh, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Bernard Seahigh. 69, Kent Land, son of Mr. and Mrs. Claire Land, and Janice and Joyce Morris, daughters of Mr. and Mrs. Darrell Morris. So Jan and Joy Morris won it, and the twins again, and they picked them both.
Oh, cool.
That's interesting. And then we'll end on 1970, Kirk Langston, son of Mr. and Mrs. A. Leon Langston, and Leslie Mason, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Leslie Mason. Mm-hmm. Just fun.
Yeah.
It's just fun to go back and read some of those. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll just stop at 1970 because we want to talk about Betsy Ross. That's kind of important. Yeah, okay. Just fun. So, yeah. All-American Girl and Boy contest.
Well, maybe some other time we'll pull out a few more here and there.
We can pull out more. Yeah. And then I could get some recent winners, too, because I only got to 2004. I can get to go ask Smitty if I can have from 2005 up.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Good. Yep. Okay.
Let's talk about Betsy.
Betsy Ross. So everybody knows her as the lady that made the first American flag. And she did, but she was actually born Elizabeth Griscom was her born name, like that. She was Elizabeth, but Betsy is a nickname for Elizabeth. But she was born on New Year's Day in 1752.
Okay.
Way back when.
Way back when.
She was the 8th of 17 kids. Can you imagine that?
Wow.
17 kids in 1752. Her father was a carpenter, and he was super successful. He was, like, really good at it. He built, like, he was actually known for building little kids' furniture, like chairs that are built for children.
Oh, really?
Kind of a big thing. Huh. He got known for that. But anyway, when she was 3 years old, they moved from New Jersey to Philadelphia. Philadelphia is important to her story. So 3 years old. Okay, so out of those 17 kids, only 9 of them survived. She had 2 siblings that died before she was born. And then a significant loss was her sister, Martha. Martha died when Betsy was 5, and Martha was only 2.
Oh, no.
But that was like Betsy's little baby doll. Like, she loved that sister so much. And then she had another sister named Anne, and that little baby girl only lived to be the age of 2, too. And then they had a baby boy named Samuel, and he died when he was 3. And then a few years later, her mother had another baby boy and used the name Samuel again. So that's like what they called Samuel number 2. I have mixed feelings about that.
I have real mixed feelings about that.
Boy. Okay, so then Samuel number 2 also died when he was 3. This poor mother, I can't even imagine her loss. But, this was pretty common for the late 1700s. There was no medical care, I don't even know what was happening. So then later she had a set of twins. They also died at the age of 3.
My goodness.
Smallpox for them. But it's... Okay, so it's not like she's losing them at childbirth. It's not like they're dying in infancy. Like, they're living to the ages of 2 and 3, like when they're full of personality and they're so fun and they're so funny. And then she just keeps losing them at these ages. It's just one thing after another. But anyway, I feel bad for her mom. This isn't Betsy. This is her mother. This is Betsy's siblings. But anyway, they were Quakers. So Quakers they believed, they didn't believe in violence. They called everyone a friend. Like, they put that above your name. So I would say friend Stacey or friend Ty or whatever when addressing you. But the school that she went to was called Friends Quaker School. That's where Betsy Ross was taught. And back then, when you went to school, if you were a girl and you got to go to school, you were taught reading and writing and then one other thing, and whatever that other thing was like whatever you thought was going to be your career. So they would like apprentice you to something. So like some girls started to learn cooking, like in-depth cooking at that age. Anyway, Betsy was sewing. So at her school she was taught reading and writing and sewing.
Sewing.
Okay. So because every girl had to pick a trade. So you had reading and writing, and then whatever the trade
in
was
the
that you wanted.
1700s, that seems quite.
I think
that's. I mean,
the Quakers had like a pretty good school for girls. Like they weren't rich, but they also weren't like in poverty. I don't think. So she finished the school, and then she was apprenticed out to as an apprentice to a upholstery shop. And the guy that ran the upholstery shop was named Mr. Webster. Super nice guy. But at upholstery shops, you think upholstery, but upholstery back then really isn't the same as what upholstery is right now. Because when you think of upholstery, you think, let's reupholster the couch.
The couch. Heavy.
Yeah, no.
Thick,
like
heavy material.
They did all kinds of things. Like they made blinds. They made rugs. They made tablecloths. They made bed covers for people. They repaired curtains.
Wow.
They made umbrellas, Venetian blinds also, and flags.
And flags.
Which is going to be important to her story, too. How much time do I have?
You keep going.
Okay. So, anyway, while she was there was also another apprentice there at the same time, and his name was John Ross.
There's where the
love is in the air. Love is in the air. So, okay, so she falls in love with John Ross, but there's a problem.
He's married.
Nope.
He's younger.
Nope.
He's an old man.
Nope.
He's crippled.
Nope.
I don't.
Religion.
Oh, religion.
He's not a Quaker.
Is he an Orthodox Jew or something?
He's a member of Christ Church, which is like a Christian, kind of the Church of England Christian that came over with
Quakers today?
That's a good question, and I do not know the answer to that. I would assume so.
I'm going to make a note about Quakerism.
Ty's on it, man. I saw his chair. He's scooting over. He's
Quakers.
Got
that's
Googling
interesting.
It. Okay, so so he was an Anglican, this John Ross, Anglican Christ Church, okay? And her parents said, no way, not happening. If you marry him, you're done. You will be cut off. Excommunicado from the whole church. You will not be allowed to contact us. You will not be allowed to talk to us, to your siblings, to your friends.
It's almost like the Amish religion when you don't say Amish.
Anybody.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So she was going to be cut off. But guess what?
What?
She did it anyway. She
Good
married
for
him.
her.
Married him anyway. So
Good for her.
They eloped in 1773. She was indeed cut off completely from her family, allowed no contact, no friends, no nothing.
It's terrible.
But her and John prospered. They did really well, and then they started their own upholstery business. So Mr. Webster had kind of retired. He was out of it or whatever. What did you find out, Ty?
Yeah, there's still Quakers.
There's a lot of Quakers around.
Yep.
Okay.
In 2017, there was about 300,000.
In 2017, there was about 300,000 Quakers. So
you never hear about that.
Well, we don't have them in our area, apparently.
Now, are they like East Coast people?
Yeah.
East Coast, on the East Coast. Okay.
Wow, thank you. Wow,
Thanks,
that's
Ty.
interesting.
Okay, so John and Betsy started their own upholstery business, and at the same time, they were going to John's church, the Anglican church, and guess who went to church with them? He's on a dollar bill.
Maybe a guy named George?
George Washington went to church with them, and actually back then, you kind of had to like pay for whichever pew you sat in, and like I think the people with more money sat at the front. Anyway, they were in the same pew as George Washington. So she and John sat with George Washington in church. So George knew them, and George knew what their skill was.
All right, we're going to take a quick commercial break, and this story is, I didn't know all this.
I know.
We will be right back.
Do you bowl like this? That's great. Do you bowl like this? That's great too. That's because whether you're a pro or you just want to have a lot of fun, at Peggle's Silver Dollar Lanes, we have a lane for you. We have galaxy bowling, gaming for kids and adults, Joe's Pizza, a full bar, darts, pool, and fresh and clean bowling shoes. Boy, does that smell nice. So come on down to Peggle Silver Dollar Lanes in Effingham, where we have a lane for you.
My name is Robin Stanford. I own Stanford Marketing. It's a promotional products business along with an embroidery business. And we do custom hats, t-shirts, anything, you name it, we can make it. People like that we do stuff in-house and we can actually make things here and that we're not contracting the work out to other places. We never say no. We always try to find a way to do it. If anybody can do it, we can do it. We are hardworking women, that is for sure. Come to Stanford Marketing in Flora for all your custom and promotional needs.
Give me all the lumber. Doors, paint, windows, electrical, plumbing, and much more. Oh, yeah. Give me all your guns, too.
John Lucas.
What?
You better be dreaming about all the stuff we sell here at Zink Building Center.
Oh, I would. Zink Building Center in Louisville on Route 45. It's a cool place.
Welcome back to By the Way with Beth and Stacey. Today we're talking about patriotic things. Stacey kind of covered some of the All-American Girl and Boy contest. Now I'm talking about Betsy Ross.
Super cool story. Keep going. That's awesome.
So I was just saying that Betsy, eloped with John Ross, and they started their own business, and they went to church with George Washington, and this was all around the time of the First Continental Congress, and George approached them and asked them to make the bedclothes and bed hangings, like back then they had a lot of cloth all the way around the bed and stuff. And so she did that for the First Continental Congress. So the men that came into town that stayed, I believe, is what this, that was in 1774. So she's starting to do some small jobs for George Washington. And the story of Betsy's life is just one big sadness after another. Mm-hmm. So they were married for about 2 years. And John was a member of the local militia, because this is right, around the Revolutionary War. The First Continental Congress is going on. And the militia was guarding some ammunition in a warehouse that exploded and killed John in June of 1776.
Oh.
So, 1776, our country's born.
There we go.
There's a lot going on. Mm-hmm. John did his part. He was to guard some ammunition, and it did explode and kill him. But by this time, Betsy had already been approached by George Washington to make the first flag. I believe, if my research is correct, she began making the flag after John had passed, and that is why she alone is credited with it. It's not, you always hear she made the first flag. You don't hear, well, the John and Betsy Ross upholsterer business made it or whatever, right, so he was already passed. So they told, George for sure was one of them, wanted the colors to be red, white, and blue. So the red is for valor, mm-hmm. the white is for purity, and the blue is for justice. Mm-hmm. Okay. Blue could also stand for perseverance or vigilance, but most people just say justice. Mm-hmm. He specifically asked that the stars be in a circle.
Right.
Because he didn't want there's 13 stars, there's 13 colonies at the time. He did not want one colony to be above the other.
Right.
They were all to be equal. So that is why they were in a circle. And his quote is, "Let the 13 stars in a circle stand as a new constellation in the heavens." That almost gives me chills.
I love that too, and I love George Washington, and it makes me angry today that people bash our founding fathers. I'm going to tell you what, they were smart.
They were very smart,
led by God men. I don't care what anybody says, because otherwise, they were amazing men.
Brave, very brave.
Brave.
Do we have a picture of Betsy that we can show, please, Ty? Here she is. This is a depiction of her after she had passed away. So I don't know how accurate it is, but it was painted by somebody who, from my research, says that it is an actual depiction of her. I hope that's true.
I bet it is.
But, pretty lady.
I mean, I would almost say it is, because, she's got a distinct look about herself.
Yes, Yeah. And so I do this Betsy Ross portrayal job each year for the Veterans Day. All the fifth grade students in the area go to Elmwood Cemetery on the week of Veterans Day in November, and do a walk-through cemetery tour to a lot of the graves of veterans that are buried there. It's all put together by Ruthie Welty, who's involved with the American Legion. And each year it grows. We usually do Clay City, Louisville, Flora, Full Armor. But this year, I think there's kids from Salem and Effingham coming as well.
That's great.
It is an amazing little tour, and the kids learn so much about veterans from every war. So they don't just focus on one war or the other. It's like every war is represented, even the Revolutionary War. And then I'm there dressed as Betsy Ross doing a portrayal. That's where my note cards come in because I have a little speech I give every year. A lot of this is memorized, but about Betsy Ross. And the thing, I think I said this back at Veterans Day, but I'm going to say it again in case you didn't see that episode. Teach your children what a portrayal is. They're in 5th grade, my lands. They're like 10 or 11 years old. They should understand that I am not really Betsy Ross. Mm-hmm. But these kids do not. They are scared. Several of them are scared. They think I am a ghost. Oh. They think I am back from... That's how good of an actress I am, people. I tell you what, like...
They think she is Betsy Ross.
They really do. And every year, it's like, do any of you have any questions? And they're like... Then they ask me, like, are you dead? Are you a ghost? What was it like? Like when you died.
They ask you that.
And they're not being sarcastic. There's always a few sarcastic jokes. I get that. That's the kids. But no, there's always some kid in the back who is white as a sheet and looks like they're about to pass out because they think I'm really Betsy Ross. So do yourselves a favor and teach your children.
Teach your children.
Okay. So anyway, back to Betsy. In June of 1777, she remarried her second husband. His name was Joseph Ashburn.
Okay.
They had 2 daughters, but one of them died before she turned 1. Just shy of her first birthday, she passed away. So Betsy ended up with 1 living child out of this marriage, okay?
Wow.
Joseph was a sailor and often at sea, and so she was alone in Philadelphia, still doing upholstery work. It was during the American Revolution, and the sea was a very dangerous place. So here she has this baby and her husband and a business, and he's out at sea all the time in the middle of this war. Mm-hmm. Like, I can't imagine the worry.
I wonder if she got mad, due respect for that, because, like, you're talking the 1700s. A woman. Women don't work.
Yeah, but she did.
But
she still did upholstery.
She worked and still did upholstery. That's pretty
so,
impressive.
The British captured Joseph's ship, and he, along with the rest of his crew, was charged with treason and imprisoned in England. They took him back to England, charged him with treason, and put him in prison. The prisons in England during that time, or anywhere, probably not just England, but they were not good places. They were damp and dark and awful, and he died of an illness while he was there, so he died. But while he was in prison, he had made a friend with another guy named John Claypool. Okay, well, John felt like when he got out of prison, the right thing to do was to go tell Joseph's his wife back in the United States what happened to Joseph. She deserves to know what happened to him because she really didn't know. And so John Claypool went to the United States, found Joseph's wife just to tell her, hey, he was in prison. He got very sick. He loved you very much. He missed you, and he died there, But when he met Betsy, they fell in love. So
like he goes back, he tells her that her husband died, and then is this husband number 3?
She was a widow, but she was a widow by 2 times. By the time she was 30 years old.
Wow!
But John Claypool stuck around. I don't know. He probably saw where she needed help, and here she was, a woman alone in the 1700s, and he maybe felt like he owed something to his friend and was trying to help his friend out. But anyway. He stuck around a little bit. Anyway, they got married. And they got married in 1783. So, they waited a little bit, but not much. Only a year, I guess. So then the thing was, John Claypool was a Quaker. So now she's a Quaker again.
Oh, geez.
Yes. So she was able to return to her Quaker roots. Her family reaccepted her. She was able to talk to all the people that she hadn't been able to talk to. But John and Betsy joined what they called the Free Quakers, and they were just a little slightly different version of the other Quakers, and they believed in America's fight for freedom. So they believed America was doing the right thing.
Okay.
They believed in the Revolutionary War. The difference was the other Quakers were strictly no violence.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So they were
so it's not
kind
like
of still doing their own thing.
Okay.
She wasn't right back in with her mom and dad, but she was allowed to visit with all of them again.
At that point, would you want to? You're Betsy Ross. The president.
Yeah. I don't know. But anyway, so John Claypool and Betsy Ross were married for 34 years.
Oh, okay.
And they had 5 daughters together, but only 4 of them lived to maturity. So
she's lost 2 children.
She lost 2 children. And then in 1793, her mom, her dad, and her sister all died within days of each other from yellow fever, and that left her to raise her sister's daughter. So now she had her own kids plus a niece that she was raising. And then in 1812, she had a daughter named Clarissa, which is a very close name to my Carissa. Mm-hmm. So I kind of feel like a little bit little connection to Betsy Ross. But so Clarissa had become widowed. So she and her 5 children, plus one on the way, 6 children there, moved in with Betsy. Okay, so then Betsy had her own 5 children, her niece, and then her 6 grandkids, all living in their house. So even though they had suffered a lot of loss, she ended up with a lot of loved ones in her home. And I'm happy for her about that. John became disabled, and he died in 1817. But even after he died, Betsy continued flag making. She continued upholstery work. She ran the business with help from Clarissa. So her and Clarissa ran the business together. But she ran the business for over 50 years.
Wow.
She retired at the age of 76. And the only reason she retired then was because her vision was failing. By 1833, she was completely blind. And then she died peacefully on January the 30th, 1 day before her birthday, or 2 days before her birthday, in 1836. And she was 84 years old.
Good. What a story.
What a story. What a woman.
What a woman.
They had grit and gumption back then.
Wow.
They did. She definitely did.
She definitely did. That's insane.
Mm-hmm. Cool story.
That is a cool story.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know the story. I don't think we really heavily studied Betsy Ross when I was in school.
No, I don't think we really went into detail about her life either. I don't think very many people do. I mean, she gets credit for making the first flag.
Yeah.
Everybody knows her for that.
Yeah.
Her name is common, but nobody really knows about her life.
That's a pretty interesting story.
It is a pretty interesting story because she had a lot of ups and downs, and she came out ahead. And there's actually a Betsy Ross house in Philadelphia I would love to visit. Mm-hmm. That'd be super cool. They have it turned into a museum.
That would be cool. I'd go to that.
Let's put that on our list for when we go out east.
Let's put that on our bucket list when we go out east.
Okay.
Okay, so we're going to end with our deep thoughts from Jack Handy.
Okay.
These make no sense. They're just kind of funny, and we just kind of want to end the show.
We took a break from
took a break from seriousness.
We want laughter.
So, deep thoughts. Whether they ever find life there or not, I think Jupiter should be considered an enemy planet.
Okay.
What's in his mind?
I don't know.
Jack Handy.
I don't think he was a real person.
I don't think he was a real. I bet that's a fake name.
Yeah, I think so.
But yeah. Jupiter is an enemy planet. That's what he thinks.
Okay. Well,
let's go with it.
We'll go with it. That's how it is. But thank you so much for joining us today. As always, you can catch us on Wabash Channel 100 daily at 11 a.m. New episodes air on Thursdays and Fridays. But you can find any of our episodes on our YouTube page. And it is called By the Way with Beth and Stacey. You can simply type in Beth and Stacey on YouTube and our page will come up. You can find all of our videos listed there. And be sure to watch any you've missed. So anyway, until next time, we'll see you later.
God bless you and have a great day.